After spending $20,000 to save their house, my parents told me never to return. Their desperate pleas hid a truth that shocked me. Curious about the twist that changed it all, I'm Emily Carter, a 28-year-old financial analyst living in a modest apartment on Atlanta's east side, where summers hit 90 degrees Fahrenheit and winters hover at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Each morning, I brew black coffee, review market reports at my desk, and commute 7 miles to my office, where I crunch numbers for a top investment firm. My career, built on a full scholarship to Georgia State University, is my pride, forged through relentless hustle. But my family never cared to understand it. To them, I'm the invisible fixer, the one in plain blouses and no flash, always bailing them out. My older brother, Ethan, for years my senior, is their golden child, the dreamer they coddle despite his failures. Growing up in our family's single-story home, 10 miles from downtown Atlanta, I learned early that love was unevenly distributed. Ethan, with his easy charm and endless excuses, was the star of every family gathering. At Christmas, relatives would rally around him saying, "Ethan, you'll make it big one day." Or, "That art piece you posted. Genius." His laughter filled the living room, his presence a magnet for adoration. Me? I was a shadow in family photos, barely acknowledged. If anyone mentioned me, it was a vague, "Emily's good with numbers," as if my achievements were a footnote. I believed if I worked hard, stayed quiet, and carried their burdens, my parents, Robert and Linda Carter, would one day see me with the same pride they lavished on Ethan. But their eyes were fixed on him, their praise reserved for his every misstep. The disparity was glaring. I remember one Thanksgiving when I was 14, sitting at our pine table, the air thick with turkey and Linda's cornbread. Ethan, then 18, got a $400 tablet, his cheers echoing as relatives clapped. Robert handed him a $100 gift card, saying, "You're our artist, Ethan." My gift? A $15 calculator with a note. "For Emily, keep studying." Linda smiled and said, "You're so responsible, Emily. You don't need much." I nodded, my throat tight, and slipped to my room, the sting of being an afterthought cutting deep. That was the pattern. Ethan's failures were celebrated, my successes expected. Family gatherings only widened the gap. Ethan's high school dropout party, yes, they threw one, was a backyard bash 5 miles from town, with catered ribs and a DJ. His 25th birthday brought a weekend trip to Savannah, 250 miles away, with seafood dinners and a rented boat. My milestones? A quiet dinner with store-bought cake. Maybe a good job, Emily, if I prompted it. When I earned my scholarship, Linda said, "Couldn't you stay closer? Ethan needs the car." My first job at a top firm? Robert nodded. "That's far. Take us to appointments." No pride, just demands. I told myself it was okay. In America, we're taught family means sacrifice, showing up even when it's tough. I believed if I gave enough time, money, heart, they'd see me beyond the reliable daughter. I was proud of my work, landing $80,000 contracts for clients. I valued self-respect, earned through late nights and perfect spreadsheets. But my family didn't care. They never asked about the deals I closed, the promotions I earned, or the thrill of presenting to executives. When I mentioned my job, Robert would grunt, "Sounds stressful," before praising Ethan's latest sketch. The imbalance wasn't just emotional, it was financial. At 16, I worked at a pastry shop, biking 4 miles to mop floors, buying a used computer with my first paycheck. Ethan, at 20, got a $1,200 MacBook on Linda's credit card to restart his life. For a decade, I bailed them out, $20,000 for their mortgage over 2 years, $2,000 for roof repairs, $1,500 for utilities, $500 for Ethan's art classes. They never asked if I could afford it, just said, "Ethan's struggling. Can you help?" I did, quietly, thinking it was temporary. At family dinners, Ethan's jobless potential dominated, his sketches drawing gasps. If I spoke, the conversation shifted, my words fading. Ethan teased, "Emily's the boring one," and Linda laughed, but their dismissal masked a truth. I was invisible unless they needed money. The sharpest wound came last year, during a 45 degrees Fahrenheit winter. Ethan was between jobs, and I brought groceries to their home, 10 miles away. I showed Linda my promotion, hoping for a nod. She sighed, "That's nice, Emily," before gushing about Ethan's new vlog. I pressed, "What about me?" Her eyes were cold. "You're fine, Emily. Ethan needs us." That moment broke my hope. I wasn't their daughter, like Ethan was. I was the one they called when bills piled up, the one they ignored when love was shared. In America, family is supposed to be a haven, but mine was a one-way street. I kept hoping for, "We're proud, Emily," but that hope was a heavy chain I carried too long. The drizzle fell softly outside my parents' single-story home in Atlanta, 10 miles from my apartment, as I stood in their kitchen, arms laden with grocery bags, salmon, vegetables, frozen meals. The air was a chilly 55 degrees Fahrenheit, scented with Linda's lavender candles. I'd driven 40 minutes after a grueling weekend shift, exhausted but fulfilling my role as the family fixer, the one who'd paid $20,000 over 2 years to save their home, $980 monthly for the mortgage, $2,000 for roof repairs, $1,500 for utilities. But as I set the bags down, Linda, my mother, crossed her arms, her tone sharp. "Emily, we need to talk." Before I could catch my breath, she continued, "What you're sending each month, it's not enough." I froze, the bags still on the counter, my heart pounding. "Not enough," I said, my voice steady but tight. "I've paid $980 a month for 2 years, plus repairs, utilities, Ethan's classes." "What do you mean, not enough?" Robert, my father, stepped in from the living room, his voice heavy, like he was stating a fact. "You make good money, Emily. You live alone. We're struggling every day. Doesn't that seem unfair?" I stared at them, the people who'd raised me, now framing their comfort as my obligation. Ethan, sprawled on the couch with his gaming console, chimed in casually, "It's not like you're hurting. What's wrong with sharing?" I turned to my 32-year-old brother, who'd never paid a bill, his entitlement burning in my chest. "Sharing goes both ways, Ethan," I said, my voice colder than the rain outside. "All you do is take." Linda snapped, "That's enough, Emily. You're being disrespectful." I took a deep breath, my chest tight, words sharp. "Disrespectful for telling the truth? I've carried this family for a decade, $20,000 for the mortgage, $2,000 for the roof, $1,500 for utilities, while Ethan games and you enable him." Robert frowned. "You're making this personal." I laughed, bitter. "It is personal. I've sacrificed my dreams to keep this house, and you're saying it's not enough." Linda's lips pressed into a tight line, her indignation a familiar weapon. "If it's such a burden," she said, each word cutting, "then walk out that door and don't come back." Time stopped. Her words echoed a truth I'd felt for years but never faced. No one softened. No one retreated. Ethan muttered, "So dramatic," from the couch. Robert stared at the floor, silent. I looked at them, Linda's glare, Robert's avoidance, Ethan's smirk, and saw no family, only people who'd used me. I set the last bag down unopened and said softly, "If that's how you feel, I hear you." My voice was steel. "I'm leaving." I walked out, my steps heavy but certain, the rain soaking my hair. No one followed, no one called my name. The 55 degrees Fahrenheit air hit my face, but I felt lighter, the chains of duty falling away. I didn't drive home. I pulled into a gas station, opened my phone and blocked Linda, Robert, and Ethan. The act was quiet, final. I'd given $20,000, my youth, my heart, believing it would earn their love. But Linda's ultimatum had freed me from that illusion. 3 months later, the silence broke. My phone buzzed with a text from Linda. "Emily, the bank sent a warning. Call me." I set it down, my coffee cold, and didn't reply. Robert called. "We need to talk." "The house can't wait." I let it go to voicemail. Ethan's voicemail was sharp. "You're letting us sink because you're selfish." I didn't respond. The calls grew, daily, then hourly, calm, then pleading, then accusatory. Linda texted, "Are you abandoning your family?" "Ethan, this isn't a joke. We're struggling." I changed my work number, blocked contacts, but read their messages, each one a jab, heartless, cold, different. I wasn't cold. I was done being their A-team. 6 months in, the barrage continued. Linda's voicemails turned desperate. "Emily, we could lose the house." Ethan's grew bitter. "Proud of yourself? This is your fault." I stood in my office parking lot, replaying Ethan's words, my resolve wavering. Had I gone too far? I'd paid $980 a month, $2,000 for repairs, $500 for Ethan's classes, and they'd toss me aside. Yet their blame stung, a lifetime of, "You're the responsible one," twisting into guilt. But as I walked Atlanta's golden sidewalks, the truth held firm. I'd given everything, and they demanded more. Linda's "don't come back" wasn't a threat, it was permission to live for myself. In America, family is supposed to be a haven, but mine was a ledger of debts I didn't owe. I'd valued self-respect, built through 60-hour workweeks and perfect reports, but they saw me as a tool. As their calls piled up, I saw the pattern. They didn't miss me, only my money. That clarity, sharp as the 55 degrees Fahrenheit rain, pushed me to keep walking, away from a house I'd saved and a family that never saved me. The rain-soaked air clung to me as I stood in the gas station lot, 10 miles from my parents' Atlanta home, my phone glowing with blocked contacts, Linda, Robert, Ethan. The 55 degrees Fahrenheit evening felt colder than it was, mirroring the chill in my chest after Linda's words. Walk out that door and don't come back. I'd paid $20,000 to save their house, $980 a month for 2 years, $2,000 for roof repairs, $1,500 for utilities, yet they dismissed me as a burden, demanding more while Ethan lounged jobless. 6 months later, their relentless calls and texts, "You're abandoning us. This is your fault," piled up, but a deeper wound opened when I discovered their betrayal. The last $3,000 I'd sent for the mortgage hadn't been used, vanishing without explanation. I'd been the Carter family's backbone, the one who kept their world afloat. At 16, I biked 4 miles to mop floors, buying a used computer to survive school. For a decade, I sent $20,000, $980 monthly to stop foreclosure, $500 for Ethan's art classes, $1,000 for Robert's meds, sacrificing my dreams to keep their home. Each payment was a plea for their love, a belief my $80,000 contracts would earn their pride. But Linda's ultimatum and their silence as I left revealed the truth. I was their ATM, not their daughter. The pain wasn't new. It was a wound reopened, raw and searing, from years of being invisible next to Ethan's celebrated failures. The deepest cut came when I checked the bank account, 10 miles from my apartment, on a 65 degrees Fahrenheit evening. I'd sent $3,000 over 3 months after their last mortgage payment, trusting it would save the house. But the bank confirmed, 8 months overdue, $6,480 outstanding, foreclosure looming. The money was gone, unaccounted for, their lies exposed. My heart stopped, not from shock but betrayal, a knife twisted by the trust I'd given. Linda's, "It's temporary," and Robert's, "We'll pay you back," echoed, hollow promises masking their deceit. The hurt wasn't just financial, it was personal. Linda's, "You're disrespectful," during our confrontation dismissed my $20,000 as duty, not sacrifice. Robert's silence, Ethan's, "What's wrong with sharing?" ignored my years of 60-hour weeks while he gamed. Their calls, "You're heartless," after I stopped paying twisted my role as fixer into villainy. I'd given $20,000, skipped meals, canceled vacations, yet they'd lied about the mortgage, using my trust to fund their comfort. The betrayal wasn't just the money, it was the realization I'd been a tool, valued only when Ethan's potential wasn't enough. In America, family is supposed to be a sanctuary, where effort is reciprocated with love. I'd clung to that, valuing self-respect through late nights and perfect reports, believing my sacrifices would matter. But I was wrong. I'd sent $20,000, driven 10 miles with groceries, poured my heart into a career, and they'd never asked, "Emily, are you okay?" They called when bills piled up, when Ethan needed classes, when the roof leaked. But when I needed them, when I needed pride, love, they were silent. The wound was a void, hollowing out the hope I'd carried for their approval. I thought of every moment Ethan was praised, his dropped jobs excused as toxic, his lost car an accident, while my scholarship was met with, "Stay closer for Ethan." At dinners, 5 miles from home, relatives lauded his sketches while my contracts got, "That's nice, Emily." I'd given $20,000, my youth, my dreams, and never heard a thank you not tied to another demand. As I sat in my 65 degrees Fahrenheit apartment, the bank's foreclosure alert on my screen, their betrayal crystallized. They'd taken my money, my trust, and given me an ultimatum to leave. The pain wasn't just a lost house, it was losing the illusion I'd ever been their daughter. The glow of my laptop screen lit my Atlanta apartment, 10 miles from my parents' home, as the bank's alert glared. Account overdue 8 months, $6,480, foreclosure risk. The 65 degrees Fahrenheit evening air was still, but a storm raged inside me. I'd sent $3,000 for their mortgage after their last payment, part of the $20,000 I'd given, $980 a month for 2 years, $2,000 for roof repairs, $1,500 for utilities, only to learn they'd misused it, betraying my trust. Linda's "Don't come back," after I refused more money, Robert's silence, and Ethan's entitlement had pushed me out 6 months ago. Their relentless calls, "You're abandoning us," piled up, but the discovery of their deceit was the breaking point. I was done being their ATM. On that 65 degrees Fahrenheit night, I chose to set a boundary, reclaiming my life. I opened my banking app, the transaction history a ledger of my exploited trust, $980 monthly for the mortgage, $10,000 to stop foreclosure, $3,000 vanished without a trace. My finger hovered over the account settings, trembling with resolve. This wasn't just about money, it was about respect, about refusing to be used. I thought of every family dinner, 5 miles from home, where Ethan's jobless art was praised while my $80,000 contracts were ignored. I'd been the one they called when the bank loomed, when Linda needed meds, when Ethan needed classes. But when I needed love, they'd chosen him. I canceled all payments, mortgage, utilities, insurance. Notifications flashed. Payment canceled. I called the bank, removing my name from their account, and erased bill reminders from my phone, each act a step toward freedom. The decision wasn't rash. It was a line drawn after a decade of sacrifice. Linda's text came. Emily, the bank's warning us. Call. I didn't reply. Robert's voicemail. The house can't wait. I let it play unmoved. Ethan's, you're selfish, letting us sink. I blocked their numbers, my heart steady. 3 months in, their calls turned desperate. Linda, we could lose the house. Ethan, your fault. I read their words, accusations of heartless and cold, but felt no guilt. Only clarity. I'd given $20,000, my youth, my dreams, and they'd lied, using my trust to fund their comfort. 6 months later, Robert called, his voice tense. Emily, you found out about the bank. I answered, calm. I confirmed it. The mortgage is 8 months behind. I sent $3,000. Where did it go? He sighed. It's not what you think. I laughed, bitter. I sent money for the house. It didn't get paid. What's not clear? Linda grabbed the phone, shrill. Don't speak to your father like that. Everything's falling apart since you left. I squinted. Since I left, or since I stopped paying for your choices? She snapped. You don't speak to me like that. Her voice shifted to sobs. We're family. Families help each other. I cut her off, voice low. Help has limits, Mom. I've been your ATM for years, and you lied about the mortgage. Ethan barged in. You're blowing this out of proportion. They need time. I laughed, I see. Time? You've had a decade of my money, $20,000, $980 a month, $500 for your classes while you game. Robert returned, pleading. We messed up, Emily. We'll pay you back. If you don't help, we'll lose everything. I gripped the phone steady. Then lose it. That's not my responsibility anymore. Linda cried. Ethan muttered, but I spoke over them. I've carried you all while Ethan did nothing. I'm done because I've done enough. I hung up, not in anger, but peace. I powered off my phone for 3 days, the silence sweeter than any duty. In America, family is about love and fairness, but mine saw me as a tool. I'd valued self-respect, built through 60-hour weeks and perfect reports, but they valued Ethan's potential. Linda's don't come back had freed me, and their lies, $3,000 misused, cemented my resolve. I wasn't their daughter, only their solution. As I stood on my balcony, the 70 degrees Fahrenheit sunrise warming Atlanta, I knew I'd chosen myself, not to punish them, but to live free of their chains. The silence after my final call with my parents, 6 months after leaving their Atlanta home, was deafening, broken only by the hum of my apartment's AC, 10 miles away. The 70 degrees Fahrenheit morning air was calm, but my Facebook post, exposing their misuse of $3,000 for my $20,000 in payments, $980 monthly for the mortgage, $2,000 for repairs, $1,500 for utilities, had unleashed chaos. I'd hung up on Linda's sobs, Robert's pleas, and Ethan's accusations, refusing to fund their lies. My post, seen by thousands, detailed their betrayal, dismantling their narrative of me as the heartless daughter who'd abandoned them. Now, as I sipped coffee in my 65 degrees Fahrenheit apartment, the consequences of their choices crashed down on the Carter family, and I felt no urge to save them. Their world unraveled swiftly. Linda deleted her guilt-tripping posts, Robert deactivated his Facebook, and Ethan's cryptic status updates signaled retreat. Comments like, Emily, you're too kind, and they used you turned their blame against them. Neighbors in their tight-knit community, 10 miles from downtown, whispered about the scandal, relatives distanced themselves, and Atlanta's social circles, once charmed by Ethan's artistic flair, questioned their integrity. Linda's voicemail stopped, her "we'll lose the house" pleas fading. Robert's demands, "Fix this," vanished, his pride buried under public scrutiny. Ethan's texts, "Your fault," ceased, his entitlement exposed. The house, a $250,000 anchor I'd kept afloat, became their ruin. Without my $980 monthly payments, the mortgage defaulted. A neighbor, Mrs. Clara Evans, called. "They're selling Emily. The bank's foreclosing." Listings appeared. 123, Pine Street, $200,000 urgent. Marcus Lee, a realtor friend, texted. No buyers. Roofs leaking, wiring shot. I nodded, unsurprised. The $2,000 I'd paid for repairs, the $10,000 to stop foreclosure, wasted, neglected by Ethan, who couldn't manage finances. The house, once a family hub, mirrored their choices, decaying, abandoned, with no one to fix it. Ethan faced the harshest fallout. His YouTube channel, once the family's pride, collapsed as followers dwindled. wary of his role in the scandal. He texted, "You're letting us sink," but his jobless potential couldn't cover the $6,480 overdue mortgage. Clara noted, "Ethan's back home, sulky, running errands." I sipped my coffee, unmoved. Ethan, who'd taken $500 for art classes while I sent $20,000, was learning the instability he'd coasted through, shielded by Linda's "he's trying." His charm, once his shield, crumbled under reality's weight. Linda and Robert struggled most. Without my $20,000, they sold heirlooms, Linda's silverware, Robert's tools, to pay bills. Robert worked overtime at his mechanic shop, his health fading, while Linda's garden withered, untended. Their home, once alive with barbecues 5 miles from town and Savannah trips 250 miles away, faced foreclosure. Relatives, who'd praised Ethan's sketches, stopped calling, their silence deafening. My cousin Sarah, 15 miles away in Decatur, texted, "Emily, everyone's stunned. They're saying you exposed them." I replied, "They exposed themselves." I showed the truth. Her silence echoed their collapse. Ethan's last text came a month later, desperate. "The bank's taking the house. You're cruel." I stood in my kitchen, the 68 degrees Fahrenheit air soft, and didn't reply. Cruel? I'd given $20,000, skipped meals, canceled dreams, and they'd misused $3,000, lying to my face. I wasn't seeking vengeance. I'd let their choices unravel. The truth, my post, shared widely, had stripped their facade, forcing them to face their favoritism. Linda's call, "We're out of options," went unanswered. I'd paid $980 a month, $1,500 for utilities, $500 for Ethan's classes, and a decade of my life. Their pleas couldn't erase their lies. The fallout wasn't just financial, it was social. Family traditions, Christmas feasts, summer escapes, ended. Linda and Robert, blind to Ethan's flaws, grappled with enabling him. Robert's plea, "We messed up," was too late, drowned by years of "Ethan needs us." Ethan, their golden child, faced Atlanta's judgment, his charm no match for his inaction. They blamed me, their anger a shield, but I didn't carry it. I'd given $20,000, my time, my heart, and they'd given me an ultimatum. Now, they learned family ties break when built on deceit. As their house listed for $180,000, no takers, I felt release, not smugness. I'd stopped being their savior, and the freedom was lighter than any duty. 6 months after cutting ties with my family, the echoes of their betrayal, misusing $3,000 of my $20,000 in payments, $980 monthly for their mortgage, $2,000 for repairs, faded in my Atlanta apartment, 10 miles from their foreclosed home. Linda's "don't come back," Robert's silence, and Ethan's accusations had pushed me out, but my viral post exposing their lies had shifted the narrative. I'd hung up on their pleas, refusing to fund a family that saw me as an ATM. Now, in my 65 degrees Fahrenheit apartment, Piedmont Park's greenery visible outside, I found peace, not fleeting, but the deep calm of choosing myself over those who never chose me. I settled into my routine, sunlight warming my hardwood floors where I reviewed financial reports. My office, 7 miles away, hummed with deals, my $80,000 contracts a testament to grit. I'd spent a decade as their fixer, $20,000 for their home, $1,500 for utilities, $500 for Ethan's classes, but their deceit had freed me. That betrayal, coupled with Linda's ultimatum, had pushed me to set boundaries, opening a life where I mattered. I redirected the $980 I'd sent monthly to savings, booking a spring trip to Charleston, 300 miles away, where 70 degrees Fahrenheit breezes and historic streets rekindled my sketching. I joined a book club 2 miles away, debating novels with strangers who became friends. I bought a new laptop, a $1,000 dream shelved for their bills, its sleek design a rebellion against $15 calculators I'd accepted as a kid. My phone stayed quiet. No more pleas from Linda, rants from Ethan, or demands from Robert. The silence was liberating. I believed family was sacred, but mine had shown otherwise. True family, I learned, is about respect, not blood. I found it in new places. Sarah, a coworker, invited me to her family's barbecue 10 miles away, where her mom hugged me like kin. Mrs. Clara Evans, a neighbor, shared her peach cobbler, insisting I join her art walks. These connections, built on warmth, filled the void my family left. Work became my haven. I landed a $100,000 client deal, my reports shaping corporate strategies. I mentored young analysts at a community center, their drive mirroring my own. My blog on escaping toxic family dynamics grew, readers writing, "You inspired me to set limits." I was helping others, and it healed me. The Carters' world collapsed. Their $250,000 house, listed at $180,000, had no buyers, its leaky roof and bad wiring. Once my fixes, now their ruin. Ethan, back home, saw his YouTube channel fail, sponsors fleeing after my post. Clara noted, Ethan's sulky, running errands. Linda sold her jewelry, Robert worked nights, their pride gone. Family traditions, Christmas feasts, Savannah trips 250 miles away. Ended, their home a shell. Linda's voicemail arrived. Emily, we've lost everything. Please. I saved it, unplayed, in a folder with old emails, not out of anger but exhaustion. I didn't hate them. I lacked the strength to sacrifice without being seen. Ethan's text, "You're cruel, we're homeless," went unanswered. I'd given $20,000, skipped meals, canceled dreams, and they'd lied. Their consequences weren't my fault. They'd chosen Ethan's potential over my effort. One evening, Marcus Lee texted, "Their house is gone. Bank took it." I nodded, the house a relic of duty I'd shed. I joined a hiking group 10 miles away, where laughter over trails built new bonds. I volunteered at a financial literacy program, helping others avoid my family's traps. Each step forged a foundation where I was enough. As spring bloomed, I stood in Piedmont Park, 5 miles away, sketching a child chasing kites. I wasn't the girl who'd biked for miles for scraps while Ethan got MacBooks. I was Emily Carter, a woman who'd learned true family lifts you up, not drains you. I'd given everything, and they'd given me a betrayal that set me free. Now I lived for myself, and that was more than enough. As Emily Carter, I poured $20,000 into my family's home, $9.80 a month for their mortgage, $2,000 for repairs, believing it would earn their love, only to be told by my mother, Linda, to never come back when I refused more. Their betrayal deepened when I found they misused $3,000, lying about the mortgage while Ethan, my brother, coasted jobless. For 28 years, I was their invisible fixer, my $80,000 career dismissed while Ethan's failures were celebrated. Walking away, I learned family isn't blood, it's respect. Their calls, "You're heartless," tried to guilt me, but I found peace choosing myself, building a life of work and true friends. To you, Americans who value family, don't let duty drain you. If your family sees you as a tool, set boundaries. Your worth isn't their praise. It's your own strength. Don't repeat my decade of giving to those who take, without thanks. Say no when it's unfair. It's not betrayal, it's self-respect. Surround yourself with people who cheer your wins, not your wallet, friends, mentors, chosen kin. Perseverance isn't carrying others' weight. It's walking toward those who value you. I wasted years hoping for, we're proud. Start now. Demand respect, live for you, and find freedom in knowing you're enough.